bringing health care to the homeless. I'm Lisa Alias, and this is Newsmakers. According to the Joplin Homeless Coalition, a point-in-time study in 2024 showed a 110% increase from 2023 in unsheltered individuals. The report prompted community goals, and while the city works on those, Freeman Health System is partnering with several agencies to create a street medicine program, the focus of today's Newsmakers. We begin our conversation with Freeman Family Medicine Program Director, Dr. Barbara Miller, and Grants Coordinator, Lisa Nelson. Thank you both for joining us on Newsmakers.
Thank you for the invitation.
This is very, very exciting. You won a $2.1 million grant to establish a first-ever street medicine training and outreach program. So congratulations on that.
Thank
Lisa,
you.
you wrote the grant. That's awesome. Let's begin with the training part of this grant. It will involve family medicine and internal medicine residents. What kind of special training is needed, Dr. Miller, when we're talking about this population?
Yeah, that's an interesting question, and it's one we've really been trying to explore over the last few months since we learned about the award. Many of the skills are the same as what we normally provide in primary care. The difference is the setting and the types of needs that are met. Many persons who find themselves in a situation without a stable living environment have to have help to meet basic needs. And there are so many things that we assume when a patient comes into the clinic to receive care, right? You have transportation, you have a way to clean your body and your skin, you have access to food, you have a way to get from point A to point B, all of those things. And we have to learn skills to be able to address those specific needs as well as the typical medical needs.
Yeah, I mean, these are not people who can run to the drugstore or buy preventative medicines either, or, you know, does that have to be front of mind with these new physicians of, hey, the typical treatment for what you've discovered may not be easy for them?
And that extends beyond medicines, right? So part of street medicine is us figuring out what the right tools are to put in a toolkit that we take to an encampment or to a place where somebody has pitched a tent to stay. But what we may need to meet that need may not actually be in the toolkit. So part of the training is learning to be creative and how to problem solve and to think kind of beyond the bounds of what we normally do in providing medical care so that we're able to meet those needs as they are, wherever they happen to be.
Yeah, it's not just medical, but also maybe behavioral health issues that are involved here, correct? I mean, how important is the mental health component? And will Ozark Center, which is a Freeman Health System affiliate in a sense, will they be working with you on all of this?
So yes, they are going to be one of our partners as the behavioral health arm of Freeman.
Yeah.
The mental health needs in this community are enormous already, just across the community. We know that. We've known that from previous community needs surveys. We know it from this. And we are learning about our unhoused community. I love that term, unhoused community, because many times those folks do form a community together, just like our neighborhoods do. So part of this is us understanding what those needs will be. So I can't speak to the specifics, but we know from national data that typically mental health needs are greater in persons who are in the unhoused community.
Certainly they're under a lot of stress just because of the living environments and the potential risks that they're encountering, you know, being in an unstable living situation.
You did include a lot of those things in the grant. Tell us about some of those factors in the grant about whether it's addiction or behavioral health needs. I mean, how does that factor into getting a grant like this? Is it, you know, trying to explain that big picture?
Well, you know what I think makes Dr. Miller and the residency programs at Freeman uniquely qualified to start a street medicine program is that they've been working very hard to integrate behavioral medicine into their curriculum and really handle both the medical and behavioral health needs of all patients. That's a balanced and appropriate way to approach a person. Everyone has stress, but of course people experiencing homelessness have even more acute stress. So they've already done a lot of groundwork for this in terms of understanding trauma-informed care and best practices for how to approach people who've experienced trauma.
And is that true in the sense of addiction as well? I mean, is that kind of part of the bigger picture in medicine that is as part of the grant as well?
Absolutely. Again, we know substance use in our community is a large need, and addressing that. Ozark Center is already doing a lot of work in that area. Our family medicine residents already are learning how to provide care for persons with all sorts of substance use disorders. And so extending that out into to persons who are unhoused will also be an important piece of this.
Lisa, is substance use an important aspect of the grant and the approach to dealing with this problem?
Well, as Dr. Miller says, substance use disorders are prevalent throughout the community. Our number one substance use disorder is alcoholism, and we see that in our emergency department. So, although we haven't started working with street medicine and the particular population that we're targeting yet, we could generalize from what we see in the emergency department to say that, yeah, that's going to be something we need to work with. It's very difficult to be in recovery, especially when you're in an unstable living situation and you're food insecure potentially, and then you're in a community. A lot has to do with the peer support that you receive. So there are a lot of great resources in Joplin. We're blessed with a lot of different nonprofit organizations providing services, and Ozark Center has a lot of resources, including certified peer specialists for individuals that are working to recover from substance use.
So we saw, an example of that with, I was able to go and observe the community clinics, pop-up clinic at the Salvation Army. I know you're going to be talking to them soon. And one of the people that we interacted with had been recently incarcerated. He had a substance use disorder. He was sober. He was on medication to help assist his treatment. But part of his challenge was he couldn't go back to the family and the community that he came from, because he knew that would open the door for him back to addiction. And so he was really trying to go it alone and figure out, how do I start afresh? How do I get the support that I need without necessarily falling back into old patterns? And I think that's a pretty common story.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think that is kind of a key to some of the mobility of these individuals, who are trying to get themselves to a place where they're maybe not under the same influences that have caused their addictions. And it's just extremely difficult under the best circumstances. Substance use is very democratic. It's not just for those experiencing homelessness or poverty. So.
Which does bring up the discussion of the partnerships that you're going to be involved in. But I want to hold on that and talk about how many Freeman residents will be part of this program. And in the grant you wrote, you have very specific goals of how many residents are going to be trained. What are some of those numbers that you intend to do in the next couple of years?
So in the 5 years of the grant, we anticipate training between 45 and 50 both family medicine and internal medicine residents in street medicine.
Okay, that's a lot.
It is a lot, especially when you consider, our recent experience as well as our internal medicine program's experience is that many of the people that we've trained stay in the community. So, I think that's another outcome of this is following, and ideally we're equipping folks to be able to feel comfortable in this space and that they will continue to work in the space after they complete their training.
And about how many hours would we anticipate them working in the community when, of course, they have other training at the hospital as well?
So those are pieces that we're putting together. So on the family medicine side, we have a rotation that we're dedicating to medicine for the underserved. This street medicine will be a large component of that, but ideally once we get the mobile clinics up and rolling, part of the important things that we need to be able to interact with this population is to be a stable, reliable presence. And so figuring out the cadence of how many times a week, what places, but being able to be in that kind of cadence. So we'll be weaving this into other rotations that we have in community medicine and addiction medicine as well.
Excellent. Well, the city just launched a new nonprofit, the Regional Commission on Homelessness. Now, will you work in tandem with them? And what is the current homeless population that you hope to reach? And like, how many are you hoping to reach? Everybody, or what's the goal here?
You're absolutely right. The city of Joplin has invested resources into studying the issue of homelessness in the city and some of the root causes, doing an analysis of resources available and gaps in those resources. So really that and the momentum to create the new nonprofit was part of the preconditions that made this grant application make sense. The time is right now. There are a lot of folks working and pulling together here. What can we do in our sphere, which is medical behavioral health, and with our partners? So that initiative was really important, and we're looking forward to finding out what's planned in the city and by that new nonprofit, along with current existing resources that have been here for a long time. How we can complement that and augment that.
In your grant, it mentions Accreditation Council for Graduate Medical Education, defining family medicine to include knowledge of the structural determinants of health with an emphasis on understanding the context of patient care to barriers to health. What does context of care mean?
That grant language, I mean, oh.
Wow, how does it help address barriers to health? And then context of care, I mean, is that the idea that they're not in the normal situation?
Well, I think the context of a patient's life is important every time I interact with a patient because they don't just come to me in a vacuum. They come from a certain family, they come from a community, and all of that plays a role in their health. So an example, I think, that demonstrates that, I have a patient who's from the Hmong community. She has diabetes, and her family prepares traditional food, which includes lots of rice. And so me knowing that is helpful in understanding how to approach her care and do that in a culturally sensitive way. She also has depression. And her family really doesn't believe that mental health is a thing, or mental health problems are a thing. And so, you know, all of that's important to understanding how to best provide her care. So that's really.
And the context of care, I as a patient and a caregiver, you know, a doctor may typically send you on your way with rest, plenty of fluids. They might assume that you can pick up your prescriptions because you have transportation, that you have a bed to rest in, that you have time off from your work environment to rest, and just running water, to drink plenty of fluids. Like, there's so many factors that you can't take for granted with the street medicine program. So it'll be very challenging and very interesting to see the residents work together with all the other resources in the community to figure out how to do this really well.
I know that some folks on the homeless have chronic conditions. I mean, you mentioned diabetes. What is the benefit of getting care to them on a routine basis, or now, rather than, they end up in the ER at the hospital?
Yeah, because often they're coming in extremis, right? They're having a serious health crisis, or they come with a wound that is resulting in amputation, or something that becomes truly preventable, and at the worst, and they are presenting in the most expensive way. I mean, we really need to care about that as a community. So being able, I have a colleague nationally, a leader in family medicine, who talks about everybody deserving a family physician. Everybody, whatever walk of life they happen to come from, and in part it's to help provide relationship-centered care that will hopefully help keep people as healthy as they can be and out of the most expensive.
Family medicine and internal medicine doctors, they want to create a long-lasting relationship with their patients. Emergency doctors, when they see you come back, that is really defeating. They have not accomplished their goal of fixing the problem.
We want preventative medicine.
We want it.
So in a moment, we are going to talk about some of your agency partners with the Salvation Army and Community Clinic. You mentioned them, but who are some of your other partners that will be working with you to make this happen?
Yeah, so we have 3 partners that'll be providing mobile units to actually take medicine into the streets, which are Access Family Care, Ozark Center, and Community Clinic. And work has already been done on some pop-up clinics over the past year or so with Community Clinic and Salvation Army. So Salvation Army is a really important partner that's at the table as well. And Legal Aid is going to be providing education and information about relative to the situation that individuals experiencing homelessness find themselves in, as well as the physicians.
bet.
And then
Kansas City University.
Kansas City University, absolutely. They already have had medical students actively involved in every pop-up
Which is
clinic.
awesome. Yeah.
And hopefully we'll provide some supervision. All residents need supervision by physicians. And there
I
are,
do have one more question.
Yeah.
What happens when the grant ends? So what's our goal there?
Well, the goal is that we have determined a way to provide stable and ongoing care to the unhoused community. And so that's really part of the work of the 5 years of the grant, is to learn how we're able to continue the work,
And
because
sustain
we
it.
don't want it to end.
right. What is the actual situation? What resources does it need? We get that 5 years to learn and right size and develop those trusted partnerships and resources so that it'll continue.
Awesome. Ladies, thank you very much for sharing all this great information.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Thanks.
Collaboration will be a key to making the street medicine program work. When we come back, we will visit with the Salvation Army and Community Clinic, who have been delivering their own street medicine through pop-up clinics.
Lions Forward is more than a campaign. It's our commitment to the future. Through private giving, we're expanding educational opportunities in Joplin and the four-state area, strengthening programs, and investing in our students. Many MSSU graduates choose to stay in our region, becoming the healthcare professionals, educators, and business leaders who keep our community strong.
Welcome back to Newsmakers, where we are talking about taking healthcare to people experiencing homelessness. It's a concept that started taking root in May of 2024 when the community clinic started hosting pop-up clinics at the Salvation Army. Joining our conversation to explain more about that are Stephanie Brady, Executive Director of Community Clinic, and Captain Bill Middendorf, Pastor for Joplin Salvation Army. Thank you both for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Stephanie, what first prompted the community clinic to start offering this pop-up clinic?
So we really saw a need in the community for individuals who, for whatever reason, were not making it in our doors. We are only a few blocks from the Salvation Army, but there were obstacles that people were facing. They were fearful of the process. They didn't understand that we were there for them. They just had a lot of difficult obstacles that were keeping them from seeking health care. So we decided that this partnership would be a really great way to be able to open the doors for them and to take health care to them in the community.
Yeah. Captain Middendorf, how is fear an issue for some of these folks? I mean, you work with them on pretty much a daily basis with your feeding program.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things is trust, right? I don't know if it's so much fear as what it is trust.
Okay.
You know, it's hard to trust people, especially when life's kicked you around as many times as it has for a lot of the guests who come in. And you know, trust is something that's not built overnight. You know,
Right.
and that's why it's important having a relationship like this. You know, as Salvation Army staff, we can bring them in and introduce them to Molly, to the nurse practitioner, to somebody. You know, they see one familiar face that helps with that trust. You know.
Yeah. So the community clinic, you have a mobile medical van. How is that a help in this kind of situation, and what kinds of medical care can you offer at a pop-up clinic?
Sure. So whenever we started, we were only seeing patients in the van. And then we quickly realized that the need was beyond what we could do just in the van. And we started doing transitioning into more of providing those clinics at the Salvation Army inside the facility itself. And we're doing everything from primary care visits to general health screenings. We typically have 2 providers every time that we are there that are medical providers, as well as KCU student doctors that come to participate with us, as well as some of our staff. And they are seeing patients for mental health crises. They're seeing patients for general health screenings. They're seeing patients for the cold and flu. All of these different types of things we're seeing individuals for. And we're doing everything from basic labs that we're able to do on the van with cold and flu testing. We're also able to provide prescriptions for them. So all of those types of things that they would get in a typical clinic, we're able to do with them there. And our hope is that they will continue to come back and seek more medical care, whether it's at the pop-up clinics or whether they come to our brick and mortar clinic on 7th and Joplin.
Yeah, hopefully after that trust is built, they'll think, okay, it's worth making that 2-block walk or a 3-block walk. Manpower can always be an issue, though, and I know you mentioned KCU students are helping. Does that make a big difference in making this possible? The more volunteer people we have involved in this?
Definitely. We're able to, the more people that we have involved, the broader our scope. So we're really able to partner with these the medical professionals in the community, and as well as volunteers that we have and our staff to be able to do that. But basically, most of the volunteers are administering vaccines. They're doing triage with patients to check them in. They're doing health histories. They're also doing vital signs. So most of those volunteers are doing all of those types of things, freeing up our staff to be able to provide medications, to do some of those lab draws and those types of things that we are needing to do.
And do you think you'll be able to expand that since with this grant with the Freeman Street Medicine with more people involved?
That's our hope, that we'll be able to continue to expand. Right now we do one Friday a month, and whether that's expanding to additional clinics at the Salvation Army or going to other locations. And there's been talk of the Carthage community having a need. So looking at different options of what those needs are and how we can expand to meet those needs.
Yeah. Captain Middendorf, your group provides nutrition through daily meals, which is a big help, I'm sure, for a lot of these folks. How does the pop-up clinic extend kind of your mission, what you're trying to do?
Sure. It brings more of a holistic approach, right? We can feed people. We have a shower laundry program. People can come in and take a shower and do some laundry, and we have that. So we have other other things that meet the physical needs, but medicine it's a whole different thing that people need a lot of. We see a lot of frostbite coming in the winter. We see, during the summer, you see a lot of people getting overheated. We always have water available, but our building's not open 24/7. So that's just having that medical presence it's vital for. It saves people's lives, period.
Yeah. So many of the homeless do suffer from chronic conditions we mentioned earlier. Are some of the people who come to your clinic and come to the Salvation Army, are they regulars? Will this help by, hey, they're always at lunch, and then you guys coming to that location? Do you think seeing them more regularly will be a big factor in improving?
Definitely. And what, as Captain was mentioning, building that trust has been key, because we have the same medical doctors, we have the same nurse practitioner every month who are there, and they're building that trust with those individuals, and then they're seeking that care, and then they're realizing through that communication that they really need to maintain that care. So they're coming back and they're getting treatment, and they're actually getting healthier as a result.
That's great.
And that follow-up too, they don't just come one time. When they come and see a nurse practitioner or see a doctor at the pop-up clinic, they can schedule a follow-up at the community clinic that's just a couple blocks down that maybe they didn't know about, or maybe they didn't trust going there, but now they do. And so it's that follow-up care that I see is just as important, and that wouldn't be happening without the pop-up clinic, that initial visit. So
let's talk about your roles in the Freeman Street Medicine program. I know part of yours, the Salvation Army, is offering space. You have rooms for actual medical appointments. Tell me about what is available and what you're going to be doing.
Yeah, so we're offering the space. We have different rooms that people can go to for confidentiality, for privacy, obviously, to get checked out. You don't want to do that in a public setting, But we also have, we have some of the expertise of working with the unhoused, that probably wouldn't happen if you were to do a pop-up clinic, at a place that's not used to dealing with this population every day. Our staff are trained on how to deal with it if somebody comes in intoxicated, or somebody comes in just not in the right frame of mind. We have de-escalation techniques, and that's to help with safety, not just providing a place.
Sure.
So
Excellent.
And oftentimes they've built that relationship with you to where they will have identified somebody who has a need, and then they will bring them to us and build that relationship between us. And they're that trusted individual who then says, you know, we really think that you need to go and be seen and be getting some care for this condition that you're dealing with. So that's been strong as well.
And so tell me about the community clinic's role with the street medicine program. You do have the mobile clinic. Are you able to secure the medicines? Will you need more help doing that? Or is that kind of, what is your role?
So we're able to secure the medications. We have our own pharmacy on site. So we're able to do that for any of the patients that we see. And we're able to also provide that medical care. So anytime that we're seeing a pop-up clinic, we're providing the doctors, the nurses, the medical assistants, we also have a patient advocate that goes out, because these individuals do have a lot of complex needs beyond their medical needs. So we have a patient advocate that goes out and assists with that as well. So we're providing all of those types of things.
And that leads me to the next question, because other partners include legal aid. You know, you mentioned a social worker in a sense. Why are they needed, and why is that an important component in making this all work?
We really believe that whenever to provide good health care, you have to look at it holistically and realize that there's needs beyond just the medical needs. There's socioeconomic needs, there's social determinants of health needs, there's food needs, all of these different things that these individuals have that are making it difficult for them to get ahead. All of those types of things are what we look for in partners, so that we can reach out and wrap our arms around those individuals and really help change their lives for the better.
Yeah, and I know the Salvation Army has kind of like utility assistance and things like that, but a lot of those who are unhoused routinely may have addiction as an issue, and you work with them routinely. Why is it important to have like Ozark Center and addiction specialist involved in this? Does that impact the outcome of even the health care that you give and the support you give?
Yeah, it does. You know, we see a lot of substance use, obviously a lot of mental illness, you know, and so just having professionals, you know, we do what we can, but we're not the professionals, you know. So it's always ideal to have, you know, to have people who are qualified, trained in that area to help. Help better.
We definitely refer people to Ozark Center as well, because we're able to manage kind of some low-level behavioral issues, but whenever we have somebody who has more significant needs, we work with Ozark Center on that. So we're also looking forward to building that relationship even stronger through this street medicine program, to be able to really bring those individuals out with us whenever we are working and solidify that relationship.
You surely don't want that to impede them taking advantage of the medical care or doing what the doctor recommends, essentially. All right, well, thank you so much. This is a big thing. It's a big grant program. What are your hopes for once the grant is over?
You know, I hope that we continue to work together. I hope that this will have solidified all of our collaborations to where we can continue this even long after the grant is over. We find that it is a necessity in our community, so that's why we've been doing it for about 1.5 years, and our hope is that the rest of these partners can see that need and really expand it as well.
All right, excellent. Thank you so much for being here. Appreciate it. That wraps up this edition of Newsmakers. Thanks to our guests from Freeman Health System, Community Clinic, and the Salvation Army, and thank you for watching Newsmakers.